Assalamualaikum everyone. So in this video, we will be covering entire speaking module. And if you watch this video, you can take gaps in between. But if you cover this entire video, your whole speaking module would be covered. Okay, let's start. First of all, before your speaking test, so I will be telling you from my experience. So when you're going for your speaking test, make sure that if you are, you have paid online, you have paid through a card, whether it could be if you're from Karachi, if you're from Pakistan, you could use your Sada Pay or Naya Pay account. So if it's your card, you have to take that card with you because that would be used for verification purposes. And if it's not your card, so you have to take authentication form for that. So this is one tip that I would recommend you to mandatory take, right? And then the second things are your ID card that you already are taking or a passport that you have registered on. So these are some few tips from my experience. So you can be, you can save your time. Then make sure to take a copy of your identification, right? Let's start. Now in speaking test, when I talk about speaking test, so the three mains module in one go, right? In one speaking test. First is introduction. It is also to so the examiner could understand you to get to a little bit information about you. The second thing is where you get a topic, you talk for 1 minute, and the third is you get cross question about the topic you discussed in part two. Okay, we'll be going in much of a detail, so let's start. Number one, introduction, right? So what is in the introduction? Let's see. So basic questions about yourself, right? So first they would be, asking your full name. So you can just say that if I'm speaking, so my first name is Ayan and my last name is Yusuf. You can call me by my first name Ayan, right? So I can just make it a little bit fancy, or if you don't want to do that, you can just, say your name. Then they could ask you about your passion or hobby, or some basic questions to get to know about you, right? If you're doing a job, they could ask you about that. If you're studying, so they could ask you like, what are you studying, right? So a little bit about that. Where is your home located? So you can share something about that. And one question also that was asked about me was, do you often use a computer, right? So these are some basic questions. Now, the technique here is always remember, don't answer by yes, no. Okay. Like if it's saying, what do you study, right? And if I say that BSc accounting, right? So it's only one thing, right? I'm not explaining it. I'm just saying it in one word. And that's not what a conversation is, right? It's not your MCQ test where you just write yes or no. It's in conversation, right? If you're talking to a friend, if you're talking to a family member, you won't say that I'm doing this and that's it, right? You have to explain, you have to talk about it. Okay, so when they're asking you about your hobby and passion, make sure you are always telling the truth and not making up. Because when you're making it up, then you're not being honest and then you can't talk much about it, right? So if you're saying, I like to read books and you don't read books, then when they cross question you, then you would be stuck in that. So make sure to say whatever you really like to do, right? So you can just say, I like to chill or I like to watch Netflix movies and all that, right? So I could say that my passion is crypto, right? My hobby is crypto. When I get free time from my studies and all that from teaching, I do crypto, right? So then I could talk more about crypto. Okay, I could take it at least to 30 seconds, right? When it's about your favorite thing, you can easily talk about it. You can say, okay, I do this. If I say I like to do teaching in my free time, so I can explain that, okay, I teach this is this, I teach here and here, I basically do this and blah blah blah, right? So you're getting the main point, right? So yeah, you can extend that to 30 seconds. You have to explain about it. If you're saying I like table tennis, so why do you like table tennis, where do you play table tennis, you have to expand up to it at least 30 seconds on the introduction part, because these are really really easy questions. You could get a good impression in the start. Every 30 seconds, of course, it's not fixed. You can go less than that, more than that, but in the start I would really, really say you to build up a good conversation between you and the examiner. So yeah, the accent doesn't matter, only your grammatical and all that we'll be discussing. So this is the first part where we talk about introduction questions. And let's talk about, see, there are two types in that. First, introduction question, introduce yourself. So they will ask you some few questions about you. In the second part, in the same, module, they could ask about, okay, let's talk about art. Let's talk about computers. Let's talk about hobbies, right? So they can just start one topic from their own and just a general discussion on that and your opinion on that, right? So this is segment number one in module. So now segment number two is about a topic, right? So in this, you will be getting let me open that. So yeah, 2 minute talk. In that, you would be giving 1 minute. You would be given a notepad and a pencil. 1 minute to make all the notes you want, and the talk would like last around 1 minute 30 seconds to be approx. Now, how will it be like? It will be like this, right? So this is the example of it. Describe a X you have recently used. X could be anything, right? It could be a mobile, it could be a headphone, anything. What I'm just giving you an example. What you should say, what now these are the main pointers. What X is, what you use the X for, how often you use the X, right? And explain what you like and dislike about X. Now, these are the pointers. If you miss one pointer, if you even miss one pointer, you are going to lose your marks, right? So, if you want to, if some people ask me that, okay, I want to extend my talk, I don't only want to talk about 1 minute, 30 seconds, I want to take it to 2 minutes, right? So if you are even thinking to do that, make sure in 1 minute 30 seconds time you have covered these three main, pointers. So if the examiner even stops you after that, you don't have to worry about it. But if you have not covered these three pointers in that much time, then there's a problem, right? Because your content should be 100% given, right? Whether you're talking small, whether you're talking large, anything like that. But in that limited time, you have to explain all these pointers in detail. You have to talk about it. You just don't have to, just say it one word, right? You have to expand on it. Okay, I do like, and I will be giving you examples also, so no worries. Now you will be given paper to write down. You have to speak around this. Now it could be like this. It could be about your hobby, internet, communication, anything. So what is it, right? What's your hobby? What kind of people do it, right? How is it done, right? So if I talk about crypto, so how do I indulge in it? How do I, deal with the whole process and explain why you think it is interesting, right? So I would be explaining it, right? So if I talk about a topic that I don't know much about it, so I won't be able to speak much on it, right? And if there's a topic which I personally know a lot about it, so I can speak much about it. So make sure when you have 1 minute to write and list down all the points, the first step is don't write the whole sentences. Just write one bullet point. Like if I'm talking about hobby, crypto, that's it, nothing else, right? Or teaching, that's it, nothing else, right? So you don't have to read the whole pages in 1 minute because 1 minute will pass that quickly that you won't even realize. So now what you have to do is you make a pointer, okay, this is my hobby, this is this, and this is that. And when you're talking to the examiner, you won't be, again and again checking from that list, from that paper, right? You will just see it once or twice and that's it. Now, in this part, first of all, you have to build a community, build a conversation. You have to answer all your pointers. In that conversation, you have to explain all the things that are being asked, right? So you are expanding on it. In my time, I remember they talked about a celebrity and how it's impacting and how the impact is. So I took an example. I even said about it that okay, I'm taking the example of this man and how he is creating an impact and all that. So when I related with the example, I can speak much, better than that. So these are the main thing. Content is a key. Pointers provided should be discussed and all that I have already, discussed. Now, yeah, we are done with it. Now it could be like four categories: people, places, objects, or events. People, it could be about a friend, a celebrity, a security guard, anyone, right? Places, it could be any place. It's a very vast, category. Object, a mobile, a headphone, anything, an event, a wedding, a birthday, or anything, right? So they could talk you about any of these four categories. Now, we are done with the first module, introduction. Second module, a topic. third module is, you know, it will mainly focus on cross questioning, right? Acha, okay, let me complete this two first. Okay. So like carry forward question. If in the task card, like the previous segment, you talked about the teacher, right? Then here you will talk about education. So what they're taking you is from a micro niche to a macro niche. What I mean to say is that in, in part two they will specifically talk you about a events to a wedding, right? And they will switch to a bigger picture. Like if in the previous part in the segment number two they're talking about a teacher, so here they won't be talking about the teacher. They would be talking about education. So you can, a broad category in which you can talk a lot of things about it. So if it's like, these pointers could be, you have they can help you to explain and all that. Define. So what is an advertisement, right? So you have to define it. Just you can just say that according to me or according to this is this. Right? Explain why do you think advertising works. So you can, answer in both directions. You can say, okay, I think advertising doesn't work, and this is the reason for that, and I've seen this in the life, and you can give the example. You can argue, do you think TV ads are more effective? No, I don't think TV ads are more effective, and I think they're more of a, uh, waste of money, because the more Gen Z and the current generation is more on social media. So I think investing in social media is better than that. So I didn't just answer from yes, no. I explained it. I argued from the exam, right? Now list what types of advertisements are there. So I can just list, okay, this is a, social media advertisement, TV advertisement, magazine advertisement. So I can list all the categories that I could remember at that time. Then classify, compare, describe, all that. You don't have to memorize all these, define, explain, and all that. I'm just giving you an idea of what a third task could look like, right? So you are talking more about the previous tasks, but on a broad category. They are, taking your opinion on the previous task, that okay, what is advertisement? Do you think it's effective? Do you think it's not effective? Are we wasting our money on that? And how has it changed our life? How is it creating an impact? So they want to know your opinion on the previous topic. That's it, nothing else. Now let's come on scoring. No, let me correct this right first. Okay, now let's talk about scoring. So first thing is fluency. That matters. Now, when I talk about first thing, speaking without hesitation. If you're being, uh, yeah, you're doing that, that really matters. That you're not performing well. The second thing is moderate pace. That is very important in this. So I've seen some people that are like very slow, like, uh, you know, when I'm talking about this, so my actually, you know, I was speaking very slow. And if I talk very fast, so I am actually talking about fluency, like speaking without hesitation, moderate pace. So this is how we work. Now you understand that I was very fast and the examiner couldn't catch up. So you have to speak on a moderate pace, that where examiner could also understand, and he could enjoy your conversation rather than just listening to your speech. Coherence. It's actually your phrases, your sentences, your ideas should connect to one another. It should be connected, right? If on one point I'm talking about education, at the second point I can't talk about wedding. There should be a relation between your first and the second sentence. Now your vocabulary, you should use a broad vocabulary, but some people, I've seen some people that on the day of exam they just memorize words and then use all those at the same time. So the second thing is vocabulary precision, right word at the right time. So if you have just memorized few words and you're just putting it in all your conversation, the examiner knows that whether you understand that vocabulary or you're just putting that in the conversation where it doesn't needs to be, right? Now, grammatical range, variety of sentence types, it could be complex sentence, it could be a simple sentence, and all that. So they need a variety of that. Grammatical accuracy, that really matters. Verbs and all that, and make sure you use a formal tone. You're not talking about child, right? You're talking about, right? You're not talking about a kid. You're talking about the children, right? So these all the formal tones, and pronunciation, of course. If some people is like pronouncing it very wrong, see, if you're not pronouncing it accurately but you're just on a normal pace, that's fine. But if you're just pronouncing it very wrong, so then there's a problem in it. So these are the few factors that the examiner will listen to or will see. Now my tips regarding it. Okay, so now there are many tips, okay, and all the main tips summarize to only one tip. Only one tip. What's that? Can you guess? Practice. That's it. No other tip. If you just use this one tip, I can guarantee you that you would be getting a very high band. Okay, and if you don't practice it, you just watch the videos and all that, that's just waste of time. So if you practicing it, well done, right? Practice improve. That's how you're gonna get a very well uh band in speaking. Okay, so you have to practice and make sure you are not just answering question, you are indulged in it, and you're just building up a conversation with the examiner, right? And inshallah we would be meeting in the, you can uh, I think I wouldn't be taking that test, the mock test, but another teacher would be, taking the mock test of speaking. So, inshallah, you would be meeting her soon. So, after you are ready for that, just contact us, and we would be, preparing. We would be keeping a Zoom session, keeping a Zoom session for mock speaking. You only have one chance to make sure when you're fully prepared, then come for the mock test so we could, grade you. So best of luck for your journey. And this was our first segment, speaking. Now let's move on to writing, reading, listening. Let's move forward, and thank you so much. Allah Hafiz and Fi Aman Allah.